Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We have some really big news today. We've got a ton of breaking news today in the world of Palantir. Alex Karp just did an interview with CNBC at Davos for the World Economic Forum, and now we got a new shareholder letter by Palantir attached with this new thing that they're introducing called the Palantir Foundation. We broke this live on the morning open that I did at 9:20, and I saw this news, and I had a little bit more time to digest it now that it's been about 2 hours. So we're gonna get deep into it. A new foundation, January 17, 2023. Let's see what Alex Karp has to say. The company we have built remains the principal means through which we intend to shape the world. Sorry, I was pausing on that. I was trying to zoom in a little bit more. But there's even more that we can and will do. To that end, we are establishing the Palantir Foundation for Defense Policy and International Affairs. We'll get more into that in a second. The demand for effective enterprise software for both commercial and government institutions has never been more significant. We have been fortunate in that we came of an age as a company just as every large institution in the world was becoming a software enterprise. And we have built what those institutions require both to succeed and survive. He's talking about B2B software and how they build sort of the data organizational workflow, the operational workflow layer for a lot of these organizations to be able to actually be effective. Our software is now in the fight around the world, supporting American and allied soldiers and intelligence operatives on the front lines. We acknowledge that software can be used as a weapon of war and that ours enables the more efficient targeting and elimination of an enemy, which is one of the critiques about Palantir software, is that it is so good that it can lead to some bad things. But we also understand that the public discourse about the appropriate use of such software is as critical as its construction, which is really good for Palantir to acknowledge this type of thing. Obviously, it's not in a bubble, the fact that these things are incredibly important. The foundation will serve as an additional means of advancing that discussion. Sincerely, Alex Karp. So let's go into this thing, the Palantir Foundation. Their big thing here is that this foundation is going to be key towards kind of explaining the point of their company, why they're doing this in the first place, and defining the sort of confines for why their software is so effective and efficient, and what the foundation serves as to aid in the critical discourse of that software and its effectiveness around international affairs and defense policy. So the description is a nonpartisan organization dedicated to advancing national security through academic and technical research, supporting of emerging technologies and policy development. Okay, so already right there, it's kind of like, I wouldn't call it a think tank. I think it's more so like an organization that it can probably put their money behind other think tanks or institutions or organizations that allow them to create research and academic scholarship that deals with the intersection of technologies and policy development at scale. So academic research, they can sponsor postgraduate researchers in a range of fields, including information technology, the physical sciences, philosophy, the law, and international affairs. All of these things intersect when it comes to making big policy decisions, like if we should go to war or not. A conference, an annual conference in Washington, D.C., bringing across thought leaders from across industry and government. Most companies tend to have conferences in which they kind of host a lot of important people. We'll talk about that in a second. A journal featuring provocative commentary and essays on national security policy and international affairs. That's basically like a blog at the end of the day. And then fellowships. Award of fellowships to undergraduate and graduate students interested in pursuing careers at the intersection of software, defense policy, and international affairs. So, what is the point of the Palantir Foundation? Let's break it down right now. First of all, they're announcing it during the World Economic Forum, so there's a reason they're kind of making this announcement now and why they want people to get a little bit more attention on it. Two things. Number one, first is this idea of sponsoring postgraduate researchers. If you are a company that creates highly advanced technology in regards to, let's say, artificial intelligence, which Palantir is one of the leading companies in the world dealing with AI, you want the academic research in the universities of the global society, at least Western society, on your side. You do not want think piece after think piece after think piece after PhD after PhD after PhD saying, hey, AI is bad. We shouldn't use AI. And again, that's not meaning to say you're lobbying them, but rather you're saying, hey, we're going to give you enough money so you can actually do critical research to see our perspective as well, so that factors in. This is something that companies have done historically, like Facebook. I mean, Facebook hates the PhDs that come out and say that social media is making people want to hurt themselves and little girls do bad things, because they want to have other research that comes contrary, because their field of view is actually Facebook has done phenomenal things for mental health. It's done phenomenal things for connectivity and all these different ideas. So I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Facebook has funded tons of research before about the good effects of social media. It's not about trying to put like your agenda across. It's rather at least trying to get information out into the world that gives at least some objectivity to what's going on. AI, a contentious topic. International affairs at the intersection of AI, a contentious topic. Going to war and using this type of software is a contentious topic. You need a lot of academic research because that influences public policy. A lot of those PhDs end up going into Washington, D.C., or they influence Washington, D.C., or that becomes part of the mainstream culture. All of these things are incredibly important. And at the end of the day, Palantir having a foundation to be able to support the development of that research in a more ethical way and in a more neutral way is probably really important. So postgraduate researchers in a range of fields like philosophy, the law, international affairs, tech, all of that stuff is something they're going to sponsor, which makes a lot of sense to me. Second is this conference. Every company pretty much has a conference. I mean, at least every very big company. Snowflake has the Dreamforce. Oh, sorry. Salesforce has Dreamforce, I believe. I might be saying it wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong there. And some other companies, Snowflake has their events, Amazon does have their events, Microsoft has their events, Apple, obviously, WWDC. Palantir hasn't really had an event. I mean, they had FoundryCon this year. I don't know if that's going to happen every single year, but this annual conference in Washington, D.C., which, by the way, are the people that are going to be voting to get Palantir a lot of money when it comes to working with the DoD, DOJ, and other governmental agencies, it's important that your brand is plastered all over that conference, even if it costs a couple $1 million to produce, because that couple $1 million in marketing is probably way better than spending it on TV ads. Thought leaders across the industry. This is more like politicians, veterans, people that have worked in public policy and international affairs. Think of it like a TED Talk conference, but specifically isolated to the things Palantir cares about, like AI, tech, information, going to war, the sort of the hurdles that they have in their company. All these different things. The blog is going to be a blog. I mean, that's fine. And then fellowships, award of fellowships to undergraduate and graduate students. This to me is Palantir doing something even better than sponsoring postgraduate researchers. It's almost like, hey, Harvard, we're going to give you $10 million and you find 100 kids and give them XYZ amount of dollars each if they are studying XYZ at Harvard. That's going to be a good thing for Palantir. Number one, their name is going to be attached to scholarship, just like you have the Coca-Cola scholarship, right? Like that's a really big deal if you win the Coke scholarship. I think it's like a free ride to an Ivy League university, stuff like that. So your brand being associated with undergraduates that will one day have to work at a company like yours, that you will want to recruit from the best of the best to work at your company, will have a positive image of your company. They will have a positive image of your brand, and they will have a deeper understanding for why you were sponsoring them in the first place, especially if they're studying something like AI-based philosophy, or AI ethics as it's called at Stanford, I believe, is one of the highly requested classes that I've seen a lot of people talk about. It's like, well, if in a couple of years AI ethics is a full major because it becomes that big of a deal, and Palantir is sponsoring, kids from underprivileged backgrounds to be able to go to Stanford and take these classes and have these majors, you're forever going to feel something nice towards Palantir, and you might want to work for Palantir one day in their AI ethics department. So there is a lot of good that is done with this type of Palantir conference as an idea. I do not think it's going to cost them a lot of money. I mean, they got $2.4 billion in cash. I mean, at most, maybe this costs a couple $1 million to host a conference and to sponsor some people. I mean, maybe even a little bit more than that, but it's all marketing. At the end of the day, it's probably good marketing. And having an annual conference every year, really good for branding. Having a lot of research getting out into the public sphere about the things that you care about, really good as well. And then having kids go to colleges and universities studying the things you want them to study so that they can work for you one day, and sponsoring them to do that, also a really good thing. I mean, it just shows Palantir as being a little bit more of a stakeholder in the community. And I don't think there's really a hit to the bottom line. I mean, costs like this are negligible given how much money Palantir has. And if they keep growing, that's really all that matters at the end of the day. So this is overall really good for Palantir branding, overall really good for their public image, and also overall really good for this idea of just setting up a foundation, setting up a legit, like a literal foundation as a stepping stone for this company to grow. I mean, if we want this company to be a big tech company like Microsoft or Google, like get up there, even Salesforce, if that's more comparable, $150 billion market cap, then they need to put their name in the ground. I mean, not only does there need to be a massive developer community, but people that don't know what Palantir is need to know what, like, you may not know everything about Salesforce, but you know what a CRM is. Most people know what a customer relationship management database is. You should know what an ontology is for Palantir. And I'm confident that very few people across the world actually understand what Palantir's version of an ontology is, even though it's helping save lives in Ukraine. It's helping businesses become more efficient. Like, it's one of those things in the world of AI and ethics and research and policies that are going to become more and more important. And if Palantir can put their name on that and really get that out there into the world, marketing and branding is a hard thing to do. And if this is one of the ideas they have on how to establish themselves, then I think it might have a good chance of working. So those are my thoughts. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching. Let me know your thoughts on the new Palantir Foundation, new Palantir Alex Karp interview just dropped. I just reacted to that. You can check that out below. I'll put the link in the description. Subscribe to dailypalantir.com newsletter every day, one newsletter for free. You might as well subscribe and get some more information on Palantir every single day. Thank you guys for listening, watching. I'll see you on the next one.